Yo dudes! Welcome! So welcome to vegan scallops. Might sound a ridiculous thing, but meat, one of our favorite mushrooms. So these scallops, they don't come inside shells. These are king oyster mushrooms. We're gonna turn these into vegan scallops. We're gonna serve them with a pumpkin puree and probably a herbed little
This is a
drizzle.
really impressive dinner and something well worth trying. You might sound skeptical going vegan scallops, but this, trust me, is incredible.
Okay, first step, what we're gonna do is we're gonna slice our scallops. We're gonna slice the king oyster mushrooms into medallions. Okay, important then to take, so we have our little medallions, try to go uniform with them. We're gonna just score the top of them, so just literally come in at them. You wanna score them this way and score them that way. Just traditionally, that's what's done in scallops. Just makes them look a little bit more genuine. And it's also gonna encourage them to absorb more of the flavors that we're gonna infuse it with.
First step, we wanna cook our mushrooms so they're soft and they really will melt in your mouth. So we're gonna boil them for about 15 minutes. We're gonna put them,
I've got about 500 ml of veg stock. I'm gonna add it into the pan.
I've got some nori sheets. I'm just literally gonna rip them up.
And we're just as simple, we're gonna boil the mushrooms, so just add them to the pot.
Into that, just to infuse and try to get more flavor permeating in throughout them, I'm gonna go with about 3 tablespoons of tamari. One last little thing, a little bit of sweet. I'm gonna go with a little bit, about 1 tablespoon.
So just make sure to try to submerge them all so they're all top and bottom are covered.
Take the lid, pop the lid on, so it means that they're cooking. The steam is also going to cook them too. We're going to leave them to boil for about 15 minutes until they're soft. They're really going to just melt in your mouth like a scallop would. While they're boiling, we're going to make a pumpkin puree. So this is fine dining. We have to have a little on the plate.
But pumpkin puree essentially is pretty much pumpkin mash. We've baked some pumpkin in the oven, 180 degrees for about 25 minutes. We used a green kabocha squash. Use any kind of pumpkin that you can get. Ideally, a potty marron, those little small orange ones, small green ones. And if you can't get a pumpkin, just use a sweet potato.
Okay, so first thing, obviously we roast them in the skin because it was just easier, and normally the skin adds a nice contrast of texture, but in this case, all we're gonna do is we're gonna scoop off just the puree. The starchy carbohydrate that's going to make this beautiful.
The skin is beautiful. The skin is super nutritious. Okay, so we've got about 200 grams of pumpkin puree. So we've taken off the skin in a little jug. We're going to go in with a decent pinch of salt.
Okay, we want to make this quite rich and quite fatty. So we're going to take some oil. Oil is kind of the main deliverer of fat. So I'm going to go in with about 50 ml of oil to start with.
Woo, jeez. We're going to have a decent pinch of ground black pepper.
So Misa's going to add that umami note, which is kind of, pumpkin is quite sweet, and this is going to kind of ground it and base it and add that extra umami note to it.
Okay, so we've got a stick blender. You can obviously use it in a food processor if you wanted. I'm just going to go straight in there with the stick blender.
So this is the part where you're just going to have to engage your kind of brain a small amount. Not too much, don't worry. So I've got a little bit of veg stock in here. I'm gonna add a little bit just until I get that perfect texture where it should be super smooth, it should be silky, and it kind of will hold its texture as well. So it's that thin balance. So start just with a little bit at a time.
That's good, yeah, it's saying good now.
So just update in terms of texture here. So it's holding its body on the spoon. It's a little bit too thick.
Beautiful.
Oh, perfect, wow.
It's really good taste. It's a fine balance between sweet, umami, with a kind of nice hint of salt to it as well, black
Looks
pepper.
like mustard, very nice. Most people wonder what it is. They could think it's a creamy something.
Okay, so we've literally had our scallops, aka king oyster mushrooms, simmering away for probably 15 minutes now. I'm just gonna pop them out on some kitchen roll just to dry them off.
For when we're frying them, we want them to brown. Moisture, as in water, is gonna get in the way of that happening. So what we really want is putting them down in a paper towel. It's going to dry some of that moisture, so it's going to be easier to fry them and encouraging browning, crispiness, caramelization.
But boiling in the stock has just infused lots of flavour into them, and it's
Cooking
really
through so they're soft.
Yeah, succulent. Okay, so now to fry off our scallops. So we've got a decent wide bottom pan on a high heat. I'm going to go in with about 3 tablespoons of oil.
So we are going with quite a lot because we really want them to crisp up. So they've dried quite significantly sitting on this. So the oil now should be nearly hot. And even try to cook it once the pan is hot, bring the temperature down to medium one, just so they don't overcook.
But you want to keep turning them just to make sure you don't get any black.
So I've got 2 cloves of garlic. I'm going to add them into the pan right now, and I'm going to prop it around the oil because I want to kind of infuse the flavors and permeate around it. Now to start incorporating more flavor. So I've got some white wine here. I think garlic and white wine are such a marriage made in heaven. So I'm going to go with about 3 tablespoons of white wine. And as it hits the pan, it is going to go So don't worry, that's the alcohol evaporating. 2, 3.
Oh my God.
Okay, into the pan, just to incorporate more flavour, I'm going to go with about half a tablespoon
of maple syrup or liquid sweetener of choice. Again, just try to get it going in around the oil so it doesn't start to, and I'm gonna go with a little bit of tamari, so about a tablespoon of tamari. Yeah, if you prefer it to be more organized, you could obviously make a dressing, but I prefer to cook it this way, and it just kind of breaks it down and shows you another way of doing it. So really just keep an eye on the scallops and just keep turning them. What you're looking for is this type of a top here where it's nice and golden. Okay, time to start plating them up. So I've got just a simple white plate. I'm gonna take out our pumpkin puree. I'm gonna put a big dollop in the middle, take the back of the spoon, and we're gonna swoosh it. So we've roasted a red onion whole for about half an hour in the oven. You'll see it's really gooey, it's very
It's tender, it's moist,
beautiful.
it's succulent.
It is hot, just be careful. I'm just gonna put a few of these there. It's just gonna look kind of interesting, add another dimension to it. Last and final thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take some of that pumpkin skin, and this is just a nice way. There's a lot of flavor in this pan here. I've taken one red chili, I've chopped the skin of it, I'm gonna pop it into the pan.
Red, did it go green between chopping it? It's the green chili.
We're gonna take the skin off this pumpkin, so it's the kabocha squash. Beautiful tender skin, really succulent. I'm gonna chop it into little kind of lengths, just so it's somewhat consistent. So they're gonna be like a pumpkin skin fritter, in essence. That's what we're gonna do now. So pan should be nice and hot. And try not to move them too much, because moving them is, you're gonna break them down a little. You really just want them to crisp up a little bit.
Okay, so we fried off our pumpkin skins and our green chili. We're just gonna pop it in. So they're almost like little fritters.
They're a little bit crispy. They're infused with kind of a nice little note of chili through them. We've used a lot of the flavoring that's already in the pan, so it's a nice way of incorporating what some people might have seen as waste. Voila!
There we go, dinner time. Okay, so vegan scallops. I'm going straight in there with the pumpkin puree.
Okay, here we are.
Here we go.
Vegan scallop with pumpkin puree.
Banging. Delicious. I paid 20 quid for that.
There's a real sense of body to it, isn't it?
The king oyster mushroom is very tasty, it's succulent, it's elegant, it tastes very meaty and fleshy. Really good, would highly recommend this dish.
And the fact that it's caramelised on the outside, you're getting a sweetness, you're getting a lovely elegance from the pumpkin puree, you're getting a crispiness, there's a nice umami note coming in gentle. A little bit of acidity from the white wine. Absolutely delicious.
There you have it, vegan scallops. If you do make them, leave a comment down below, let us know what you think. Share it with anyone you think would like it, and thank you for being part of this community. We really appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye.